Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Africam show. What a lovely Tuesday it is, and I could definitely use a bit of a bush break, and I'm sure all of you would too. And we are starting off here at Moella, and we have lots of zebras enjoying themselves at this waterhole. And right on cue, I was just hoping that they'd call for us because I think one of the things that are particularly interesting about zebras is the sound of their call. Very unexpected. And remember that we're live and interactive, so send through the questions and the comments. I'm so excited to look through all the cameras. Oh, it's such a cool call. I remember when I just started guiding, I was challenged to make a zebra call. It was not very good. As you can imagine, it's a difficult call to make, right? Now, I've heard them use this call mostly to communicate within the groups. So it's not something you hear when they're alarming as much as something you hear when they're trying to communicate across groups. I remember being in Mabula here in the Waterberg in South Africa and seeing zebras on two different sides of the mountain, and they were communicating with these yelps. And the ones that are calling just off screen that we can't actually see, every time they're calling, you see the zebras kind of look up and pay attention to what's happening. Casper's Dead Ghost says good morning and good afternoon to Trish and everyone. You've got iced lemon tea ready for the bush ride. Oh, look at this. We have some elephants. I love that this elephant that's on the right there is just surrounded by zebras. Almost as if the zebras are interested in him. DNC says good morning from Seattle. You're ready for the show with a cup of coffee. I'm quite boring. I just have water today for the show. Water and a scarf because it's still pretty chilly here in Johannesburg. Andy says, good afternoon, Trish and friends. We hope that we watched the cam last night. No, I didn't. Male lions ruled the night at Old Donyo, the Hyde, and Koro and Jabulani. Must have been a full moon. Oh, that's so nice to have seen lions across so many of the different cameras. Amber Co says, hello to all. Just coffee this morning, and thanks to everybody, the whole team, for today's show. Our pleasure. Bridget McKinney says hi. Kara says hi, and that you've got milk. Of course, we knew that. Bowl of Kitten says hi, and it's orange juice for you today. That sounds like a good idea. Asa Negro, you say black coffee for you. Also a good idea, although I can't drink the coffee during the day. It's just a morning thing for me. I love that, as we go through the different ways, just some zebras telling me to keep quiet while they communicate. So many zebras. I can't remember the last time I saw so many of them. Oh, and this elephant is so chilled out. He's standing in a bit of a depression, and I wonder if there's some moisture in there and there's maybe some mud. It looks like he's drinking. A couple of wildebeest sprinkled in there as well. So I was saying, when we think about how the different things we have to enjoy the show, and then I was thinking about coffee and how I have coffee in the morning, blah, 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 and how we have these routines. And animals have routines too. It's just, they're still meeting the same needs we have, just differently. You see it with birds, you see it with mammals, whether they're big or small. And you see it regardless of whether they are nocturnal or diurnal animals. When they sleep, when they wake up, it's the same thing. Some stretching, some taking care of themselves in terms of grooming. and then they go off looking for something to eat. And it kind of sounds like a lot like our routine in the morning, doesn't it? Oh, that was very close to the camera. Grumpy old man, you had chocolate cake, but you finished it waiting for the show to start. That resonates with me. It really does. And I would love some chocolate cake. Well, all these zebras are just chilling, and these ellies are just chilling. There was some over on the far end as well. So how about we head over to Tembe, because we were talking about birds and kind of the morning routine, and there's some woolly-necked storks here. Oh, hello, guys. These are one of the storks that I see so often in KwaZulu-Natal, which is where Tembe is. It's also my home province. They kind of remind me of Hadidas, which is also a very, very loud, kind of, I was going to call them kind of the mascot of South Africa. You can't come to South Africa and not know a Hadida, but of course they're not Hadidas. They are storks, but they just remind me of Hadidas. Very, very cool birds. And what's nice is that you can actually see the slight reddish bits on the end of the beak and even on the eye here. Normally with, in average light, you don't get to see that. But those are some identifying features. Fiver, you say good morning. You just woke up and tuned in, so no drink just yet. You're still cozy under the covers. Oh, that sounds good. Fiver, why don't you have somebody bring you something to drink? That's what I do. Karu, you say you just got back from birding and you didn't see anything, but you heard an American crow, blue jay, and a red-breasted nuthatch. Very nice, Karu. Where was I last that I was doing a bit of birding? In Spain, which was also really nice. I got to see a jay for the first time and got to see some very cool vultures. Magic Blue Note, you say good afternoon all the way from Vienna in Austria. Hello, and hi to Vienna. I was recently in the Vienna airport, actually, not too long ago. And thank you for giving yourself the opportunity to have this little window into African wildlife. So typically in the morning for birds, we'd see them grooming themselves. That's probably the first one. Lots and lots of preening. And that's very important because that takes care of parasites. And in fact, if you joined us for the Wild Moments show a couple weeks back, me and Taylor were talking about predator avoidance, parasite avoidance in predators. And specifically, we wanted to kind of try and figure out how predators detect that a carcass is not okay. Whether it's predators, whether it's parasites or bacteria or whatever it is, how are they able to tell this? And there's a lot of research that still needs to be poured into figuring that out. But anyway, I came across this paper and I was reading about like parasite avoidance in many different animals. And one that came up quite clearly is parasite avoidance in birds. And it seems that preening, cleaning themselves like we're seeing this woolly-necked stork doing right now, is paramount to their survival and that parasite avoidance. Other things like sunning themselves, also really helpful, bathing, sometimes anting, dust bathing as well, all really, really important. And that helps to keep the pest load down. And often that's how they start their mornings. Having clean feathers that are free from pests, but also well aligned and clean, directly affect the survival of birds because that's how they hunt, how they avoid predators. If their feathers weren't in tip-top shape, their survival, it would directly affect their survival. Wouldn't be able to get out of the way quick enough, wouldn't be able to get food quick enough. So feathers are number one when they wake up. And after that's sorted out, then they can go off looking for food. Gosh, we should really pay this Willie next stork. It's as if it can hear what I'm saying. Start talking about grooming and preening, it started cleaning its feathers. Start talking about them done with that and off to go hunting, and it starts doing that too. Very good, Willie next stork. All right, let's head over to another bird, the wonderful black eagle cam that we have. And let's see if that chick is out and about because we only, or at least I've only seen it once. So I'd love to see it again. Oh, hello, little chickie. All on your lonesome this time. The last time we saw it, it was being fed by mum. Oh, but it's looking so sturdy now. It was looking quite, I mean, all um, predatory bird chicks look very, for lack of a better term, flimsy when they're very small. Kind of their necks droop and they're all patchy. 'Cause they've just got like the feather filaments coming out and they're not fully covered in down. But now this one's looking really, really sturdy and it's growing so quickly. I don't know if you heard that, but there was a slight. Oh, there we go. It's the baboons that are calling. I'm just going to be quiet. Of course, now they won't call. But in the distance, you might have heard a whoo. And as the chick heard that, it went down. And that's a defense mechanism. Anytime they detect any kind of danger, the only thing they can do is either feign death or they can hunker down really tight and not move in a way that is feigning death, right? But like all young things do, this chick can't help but play around with the sticks and twigs and leaves around it. Now, it's quite usual for mum and dad to leave the chick here while they go off and hunt. I mean, it's not like the chick can do anything. It's pretty much just going to stay here. I mean, like babies, right? They're just going to stay in one spot until it's feeding time, and that's when they're going to get most active. Also, Negro, you say the eaglet has grown so much in a week. It really has. It's fully feathered, still covered in down. There, can you hear the baboons? They're so far away, but this chick is responding. Now, I wonder if one of the adults might come back. I found it amazing how adult birds can keep track of their chicks. There were these secretary birds, and I was watching their chicks in the nest. And when I'm watching them, it seems as if the adults are gone and the chicks are just in the nest. But they obviously had eyes on this nest wherever they were. Because as soon as some crows came along and started circling around the nest, uh, the adults were there so quickly. So I'm quite sure that the parents have eyes on this chick. Now you might wonder, would the baboons actually be a threat to these youngsters or this youngster? They could. Baboons are omnivorous, and baboons are really good at climbing stuff. And they're not always around trees. I've seen them roost in rocky outcrops in caves. They can scale them in no time. Of course, this nest is really high up, but baboons could be a potential threat if they made their way up here. So doing what this little chick is doing is perfect. So this little one still has, ooh, how long has it been? It's been a while, right, Kirst? About 3 weeks or so? Or am I giving it a week extra? But around a month old, you will start to see other, like the primary feathers start to emerge. So this down will begin to uh, fall off, basically. Oh, thank you, Kara. You say it's about 4 weeks old now, and you already saw the primaries come out. Ah, okay. So 4 weeks to a month, that's when you're starting to see primaries emerge. And about 7 weeks, so just after a month or a month and a half, you're going to see most of the body be covered in these kind of mottled feathers, and most of the down gone, except for in between those feathers. And by 13 weeks or so, it's going to be fully covered in that juvenile plumage. Still going to be a while till it fledges, though, so we still have time. But you know, when you think about it, birds fledge so quickly. I mean, about 3 months from birth, that's all it takes for this Verreaux's eagle chick to fledge. So no wonder in 1 week it can grow so much. And there's actually a visual difference. Well, if mum comes back or dad comes back to feed the chick, we'll definitely be back too. But how about we head over to Wange to have a look at some baboons since we could hear them calling in the background here. Oh, hello, baboons. They're sifting through elephant dung now, which is awesome to see. It's something I do myself when I'm in the bush. But they're looking for food, and I'm looking for the things that they use for food or eat. Little bugs, little beetles, seeds, fruits. There's so much. I mean, elephant dung really is like a treasure trove. So many different things can be found in it. Thousands of seeds. Oh, don't. I really thought that baboon was going to fall over backwards, but they are agile and they have very quick reaction times. So that one saved itself from embarrassment. The other camera I really wanted to visit today was the cheetah cam, and we'll definitely check that out once the cheetahs come out. Oh, look at this. That baboon is missing a hand. Wow, does anybody know about that? It's the little, so you see the very big baboon right in the middle. It's the little one to the left of our view, sitting there by itself now. It's missing its left hand. So the arm is there, but it's almost like from the wrist down, there's no hand. Interestingly, you see a lot of that with baboons, and more often than not, it has to do with them getting in sticky situations around human camps. I remember seeing a baboon that had both arms missing, and that's because it touched an electric fence. Or if it just touched with one arm, I can understand, but both arms, gosh. And then human intervention helped that baboon out. And this one looks very clean. So I wonder if something was wrong, and then again, human intervention helped this baboon out. And I am always astounded at how well wild animals do, uh, even if they're missing a limb or part of a limb, or they have some sort of injury, and you think that it's going to be the last days for this animal, and it's not. And at other times, how quickly disease and things like that can really bring them to death's door. You can see it's doing a lot more leaning forward than the other baboons were doing. There's the hand there. Wow, that's interesting. If you know anything about that baboon, I'd love to know, everyone. Our little photo bomber here. Impala giving this rock a lick. Do you know what baboon was just sitting there? There could be all sorts of stuff on there. But that's also maybe what the impala is after. At the moment, it's not really eating the rock or anything like that. It's just licking off minerals to supplement its diet. Interesting. So this is telling me that because if we, what's nice is that we have two baboons in shot now, so we can make a comparison. There's nothing really stopping the baboon on the right with the half arm from sitting like the baboon on the left is and just picking with the one good hand. But it's not doing that. Instead, it's leaning forward to eat. Oh, there we go. But still, it's like pushing forward its whole body in order to eat. That makes me feel like maybe baboons are very used to using both hands when eating. So maybe they don't favor one over the other. Because instead of favoring its right hand, it's just leaning forward, trying to get its mouth onto the ground to eat. I suppose actually our question just got answered. The one on the left uses one hand to lean to kind of support its body weight as its body weight moves forward, and use the other to pick. And obviously, the little one can't do that. I'm trying to figure out or get an idea of how everyone else interacts with this youngster. Baboon relationships can be so complex. I was just about to say that this smaller adult seems very protective over this youngster with the half arm. That's quite a big guy that came through to say hello to those two. If I could just see their bottoms, I could figure out who a male and who a female. Very nice. Big male. Now, male baboons, you can see they have a kind of a complete pad on their behind, and that's because they don't need to make space for an additional opening that females have. But with a female, you'll see that there's kind of a break in it. That's an interesting thought. Kirst was just thinking how it does in social situations, particularly when it comes to grooming, because that's an important part of baboon socializing. Because they have these complex relationships, lots of these relationships are built on what you can do for me. And grooming is one of those things. In fact, the grooming is how it starts. Oh, I'll take a bit for you, and you take a bit of me. Looks like it's a young female. It's a little bit difficult to tell. So how does it groom others? And how does that affect the relationships that it has within the troop? So once there's that little bit of like, I scratch your back, you scratch my back, literally, then that moves on to, oh, when I have youngsters and I'm around you, and if you're a male or whatever, I'm more protected. And then these more complex relationships start to form. But they're basically based on what I can do for you and what you can do for me. Strategic relationships. It's still quite young though, so maybe it hasn't gotten to that hurdle yet. But I mean, it's basically an adolescent, or maybe a juvenile. You can see it struggles as it walks. I really hope that we can keep tabs on this little one because it would be very, very enriching to figure out how it navigates the world, both physically and socially. And speaking of navigating the world, as a youngster, the cubs are finally out. So how about we head over to the cheetah camp and see how they're doing? Oh, hello, little one. Now, this is exactly the type of behavior that they need to be practicing. And cheetahs are not known for tree climbing, but when they're young like this, their claws, which are not retractable like we see in, say, leopards and lions, instead they're always semi-out. At this stage of their development, those claws are still pretty sharp, so it allows them to get high up in the trees, as this one is showing us. But this is also important behavior because cheetah adults still do utilize trees. They might not be able to get as far up as this as their claws begin to blunt, but they still utilize trees. They get up as far as they can to get a better vantage point of their prey. Because using that speed comes with a few caveats. They've got to make sure there's a clear path between them and their potential prey. And that's going to help them make the best use of their speed. Now, this is the difficult part, as most of us who have climbed a tree would know. I'm no good at it. I mean, I can get up, but I have difficulty, much like this cub, getting down. I can see that they're their mantle is starting to look a little less obvious, but I should have a look when they're actually on the ground. The mantle is that mane, the kind of long hair that's along their back. Zygote, they are going up higher and higher. This is the highest I've seen a cheetah cub, or one of these cheetah cubs go. Oh, decisions, so tough. I would also be calling for help. Just do it. Just jump. That's what I always tell myself, and then I end up doing this. You can do it. Okay, their mantle is still pretty obvious. Whoa, sweet relief, I'm on the ground again. Now, this mantle should start to disappear around 3 months. Well, it still start to thin. Um, Even into adulthood, you might see some adults with slightly longer hair, almost retaining some of that mantle. And then you see it with lions as well. You know, lion cubs have these spots, especially around their belly when they're young, when they're cubs, and you might even see some adults that still retain those spots. And so here with cheetahs, you might see adults that still retain a bit of that mantle. Zygote, you say sentry cub. Absolutely. It's doing good for all the cubs, just making sure there's no danger around. Looking for prey, all these important things to learn how to do from the time you're little. But do you remember how dark they looked when they were small because all their spots are so close together? Now they're starting to put on weight and they're getting so much bigger. You actually can see the gaps between the spots. So about a year and a half to 2 years, they'll be independent from mum, but they're going to be stuck in this cutesy phase for at least another 3 months. But then they're just going to start looking like young cheetahs and not little cubbies. Well, I suppose technically they're still cubs and they're under a year old. I was reading some pretty interesting things over the last couple days because I realized that I have way too many tabs open on my laptop. And so I had to read some of the things so that I could close the tabs. And I was reading about genetic bottlenecks in cheetahs and how important the work that HESC do, for example, here, the Spirit Endangered Species Center, where we have these cubs, how important this work is to ensure that diversity can sort of increase within the population for cheetahs. And so then I started reading, and then I found out that there are two genetic bottlenecks that existed or that created the situation that we have right now with cheetahs. One was a long time ago, kind of like 100,000 years ago, when cheetahs actually started to move through um, Asia, and what that resulted in, and this is not, this is not really a problem. This is what happens with all animals, but it did contribute to the genetic bottleneck. And that's because as populations start to move, they fragment. So that means that maybe some kind of land formation comes in the way of populations so that they can't interbreed anymore. And that means that population that's at the base of this mountain can only really breed within that population. And so if you get pockets like that everywhere, then that means that genetically they might be slightly different, which is a good thing because usually then populations will start to move around as the earth changes and land changes. But that didn't happen so much for cheetahs. So that's the first kind of loss in genetics that happened because those groups couldn't interbreed. The second one happened just after the last ice age, which was about 10 to 12,000 years ago. Oh, there we go. There's another one. They're all out and about. And the last ice age, or the end of it, resulted in quite a lot of species loss. And the cheetahs were one of those that experienced this. So they ended up with very little genetic diversity. So little, in fact, that, and this is basically what I'm getting at because I thought this was the coolest fact. There was so little genetic diversity that skin grafts between cheetahs, like different individuals, were so readily accepted by the recipient cheetah because their immune system didn't respond to a different thing being put on their body, which I think is so crazy because normally from like a histological perspective, your body is going to respond to something foreign being on it, attached to it, in it. And it happens to humans all the time, right? Transplants get refused by your body. And that's because your immune system detects that that doesn't belong to you. And the immune system of those cheetahs, and there were several of them that had these skin grafts, the immune system just didn't detect that something was different. How crazy. Amber Co, you said you're hopeless and you're grinning. You clapped when the cheetah cub made it safely down the tree. So sweet to watch them grow and adventure out. It really is. And I'm also so impressed with the success that Hesk has had here. Like cheetahs don't have an obvious estrus cycle or one that's easy to track. They don't have induced ovulation in the same way that lions do. So you know when they mate, then that's what induces ovulation. So you can know that when a lion mates, because they let it wait for a prolonged time over several days, you know that it's likely for them to be pregnant after that mating cycle. But with cheetahs, it's quite difficult because you don't get signals. As mum calling them back, they're all very interested in the vultures on the other side. It looks like they want to be friends. And there's other mums' cubs on the other side too. Oh, these cheetah cubs are going to be so well socialized. Grumpy old man, you say Tina has her paws full with this bunch. I mean, thank goodness for kind of the playpen that she's got, right? Grumpy old man. At least she can keep them within an area that she can look or oversee them. Oh, there we go. You're learning some really important skills there, how to chase vultures. I mean, Tammy's probably at the stage now where she kind of just lets them do whatever they gotta do. They're up in a tree and they gotta fall down. Just gotta let them fall down. So curious. This reminds me of me, like, outside tennis courts, looking in. Can I play? All right, everyone, let's quickly have a look at whether some pelicans are still in the area for us at the hide. Oh, hey, pelicans. Oh, that is so sweet. And we get two types of pelicans here. We get pink-backed and great white pelicans. These look very great white. Pinkbacks have a funny face. I don't know how else to say that. But they also have this tuft of hair at the back of their head that's very obvious. And their actual beak is a little yellower. Yeah, you're seeing a nice pinkish hue. Oh, look at them going about. Getting some water. What can you catch? They're mainly looking for fish, other smaller invertebrates, maybe some shrimp. Oh, very nice. We don't often get to see them. So this is really such a treat. I was like, that can't be them. No, it's not. It's somebody with uh, what is that called? Like when people trim hedges. Whoa! Can't say I've seen that before. And yes, it's obvious with that big flap of skin that if they were going to shake their heads, that would is what it would look like. You know, and that is cool. So sweet. And just an Egyptian goose chilling with them. But now you can see just how big they are, right? This is almost a 10 kg bird. It's huge. I think the pouch has to be my favorite thing about them. Can you imagine having that kind of pouch? I mean, there's so many things that I see with animals, and I just think to myself, um, imagine having that. Imagine having claws. Imagine having a big old pouch in your bottom jaw. Or a tail. Hmm, that would be quite interesting. Right, I've gone off on a tangent, but now you can imagine, like, there's so many things. So many things. Asenegro, you wanted to know if there are frogs that the pelican can eat here. I mean, they don't particularly go for frogs. They really do like fish, and that's their main source, food source. But if frogs come along or happen to be, jump into their beaks, I doubt they would not eat it. But they don't necessarily have the type of beak that would allow them to kill and maneuver a frog into their throat successfully. They have, well, this flap of skin that allows them to catch things. So fish is number one on their list. Oh, that is very cute. That is very, very cute. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you'll continue to watch the cameras, continue to watch our babies grow, the cheetah cubs and the little black eagle chick. I'm sure in just a few weeks, in a few days, things will look so different. So continue to watch those cameras and all the other ones too, so that you can invite a little piece of African paradise into your life. Thanks for your questions and your comments. Always a pleasure to have you all on board. And I'll see you again next time and on Thursday. So do join us for Wild Moments on Thursday, everybody. See you then.